Hey, what's up everybody? It's Christian with Reaper Disc, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys a handful of quick tips on how to become a better putter. First and foremost, you need to find a really good putter. Now, the putter isn't good because it is good. It's good because it works for you as an individual. You need to find what fits you, what fits your hand and your putting style better than any other and is going to work best for you. For me, it's the JK Aviar. It is by far my favorite kind of putter. It is a big bead, soft, grippy, and slightly puddle-topped putter. It's just what I've naturally gravitated toward for the past 4 or 5 years now, and that's what I've stuck with. Now, there are a multitude of different kinds of putters. You have beadless versus beaded, you have deep dish versus shallow. This is all personal preference. My advice is to get out and try as many different kinds as you can to try to find that perfect putter for you. When it comes to plastic, I would try to steer more toward a baseline plastic and away from premium plastic. It's not going to grip the chains as well, and premium plastic typically doesn't grip in your hand as well during some kind of poor weather conditions. If you're worried about weight, I would try to stay more toward a max weight putter. It's easier to find those than what it would be, some random off-weight putters. Now that you've got the perfect putter figured out, get a stack of them. This is really going to help whenever you practice because you're not going to be walking to the basket after every 1 or 2 throws. You're able to then putt, diagnose what you did wrong, and correct it on the next one instead of trying to do all that and then forget about it while you walk up, get your putter, and come back. So as far as actual putting goes, there are 2 main different types of putts. There's the push putt and the spin putt. The push putt is a lot easier for beginners to kind of get started with, and it's mainly just kind of a pitch putt, or as Dave Feldberg called it, a shovel putt, because you're basically just coming through and scooping up with the disc. Now you're going to basically release the disc flat and keep it on a line with the pole. This is really easy for beginners because there's not a lot of technical knowledge and execution that you have to do, and you just kind of toss it into the basket. With that being said, this is really easy for the wind to blow it around, so it doesn't work well in windy conditions. Your typical misses here are going to be high and low, but you're almost always going to have it on line with the basket itself. The opposite is the spin putt. And the spin putt essentially is the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Instead of kind of pitching and penduluming your arm, this is going to start at the chest and stab outwards. Now, this is really good for windy situations and longer putts. Somebody really good at this, if you want to learn how to do this, is Eagle McMahon. Eagle can knock down these putts on a frozen rope from 60 feet and beyond if he really wants to. This is a very good but technical kind of putt and requires a lot more practice to be able to be good at, and it is a very risk-reward style. If you're on and you're a spin putter, typically anything that you can see, you're going to be at least hitting metal. The downside is when you're off, you're going to be really, really off. When you miss a spin putt, because the disc is actually flying instead of just being pitched, it's going to fly a lot further past the basket if you do miss. So, there are a handful of different putting games or practice routines that you can do to make yourself better. First and foremost, I will say what not to do. You don't want to walk up to the putting green with 8 or 9 discs in one hand and just do this. Yeah, I just turned around and made all those. But there is never a situation on the course that I'm going to just turn around and do that. I wasn't focused on making putts. I wasn't focused on my form. I was literally just throwing the disc at the basket. By the point that you're doing that, that's all you're doing is just throwing. You're not getting in any real beneficial practice, and you're not actually going to see any real, benefits from that. You're just essentially out wasting your own time and making your arm tired for nothing. So instead, what you want, take 2, maybe 3 tops, set the rest down beside you, bend over and pick them up. It's not going to kill you to do it, and this is more like what you're going to be faced with during a competition setting. You'll typically walk up with one in your offhand and what you're going to be putting with. Now, there are a handful of other things that you can do as far as putting routines go. Me personally, I like to start a little closer to the basket and then work my way back. Now, what I'll do between putts is I'll putt, and instead of just immediately grabbing the next one, I'm actually going to at least mentally take a step back, reset, and then approach the next putt like it was the first one. It's completely different at that point. Every putt is individual and nothing really is the same. It's not just a continuation of one putt after one putt after one putt. In my mind, at least, these are all individual putts that I may see out on the course, and I'm going to try to approach them that way. So, as I step up to this putt and everything, I'm going to, stare it down like I would a normal putt. And then kind of mentally take a step back, maybe even physically take a step off of where I'm putting from, and then step back up with my next putter and reassess. Between all of that, and no, you're not going to make every single putt. You're human, you're gonna miss. I then grab my next 2 and continue working. So, again, I'm approaching every single putt like it's my first. Now, there are a lot of different putting games that you can do to help this time go by a little easier. What you can do is set up to a putt at one distance and toss a handful of minis out on the ground and work your way back. Make one, move back, make it, move back, make it, move back. If you make all the way to the last one, then turn around and start making all the way back up. If you miss, start back over at the beginning. It's also a good idea that when you're putting, at least loosely in your mind, keep track of how you're doing and how many you're making and missing. That way you can gauge how much you're progressing as time goes on and you practice more. The last big thing is don't try to overdo it. Don't try to putt from 50 to 90 feet away if you're having trouble with 20 and 30 footers. Try to stay between 20 and 45 feet, at least for the most part. Now, if you want to try some of those longer distance putts a little here and there, definitely go for it. My main goal for those is going to be reducing 3 putts from that distance. A 2 putt is okay if I'm looking at the edge of C2. I know I'm not going to be making those 60 footers. My goal then is to maybe give it a bid, but try not to 3 putt. Leave myself close enough to where I know that I'm going to make the cleanup putt. And last but certainly not least, try not to spend too much time at one time practice putting. It can be very, very easy to fall into a rhythm and start developing bad habits because you're just getting in the groove of just putting. Try to break up your practice sessions into 20 to 30 minute intervals. That way you aren't losing focus, and about the time that you are noticing that you're losing focus, that's whenever you're not really getting in any good practice anymore. Instead, that's whenever you're, falling into and going to start developing really bad habits. While you maintain focus for those 20, maybe 30 minutes, really try to get some good quality practice in. And then give yourself a break, come back after it in a little bit. You don't want to waste all of that time out practicing if you're only going to develop and reinforce bad habits. All right, guys, and that is it. Those are my quick tips on how to become a better putter. What did you guys think about this, and what is your go-to putter? Drop me a comment down below and let me know. You can follow Reaper Disc on Facebook to keep up to date with all new video releases as well as new releases in the store. If you want to get this awesome shirt or find your next go-to putter, hit the link in the description of this video to head over to reaperdisc.com and check them out there. If you like this video, hit that like button and consider subscribing. That way you keep up to date with all of our video releases. Until next time, I'm Christian with Reaper Discs.